turf caught the eye at Craven Cottage. Nothing to tidy up there as the 22 players took to the field. Both the home team and newly promoted Portsmouth had players with the ability to exploit it. Your commentator is John Watson.
Malcolm MacDonald hasn't bought a player in almost 3 years as Fulham manager, and his lineup today reflects the faith he has in the club's youngsters. In goal, 20-year-old Jim Stannard is preferred to Jerry Payton, and there are 3 19-year-olds. Number 2, Paul Parker, takes over from injured Jeff Hopkins. At number 4, there's a league debut for John Marshall in preference to Sean O'Driscoll, and at number 11, Peter Scott gets his chance because Ray Lewington is ruled out. By contrast, Portsmouth have spent around £700,000 on 6 new players in the last 15 months. Number 3, Richard Money, and number 9, Mark Haitley, the latest signings by a manager who's back on familiar ground today, because Bobby Campbell was in charge at Fulham for over 4 years. The referee is Dennis Brazier from Northampton, and he gets underway the first Football League match on Fulham's new cell system surface. Portsmouth are wearing blue shirts and white shorts. Here's Webb at number 7. Behind him is Ellis, the fullback. Both sides lost their opening league match last Saturday. And there's Biley, number 10 for Portsmouth. And Roger Brown, the Fulham captain, gives away a corner. Alan Biley with 26 goals for Pompey last season. And Haitley is the threat there. Tony Gale got the ball out. Mark Haitley, who cost £190,000 from Coventry once the tribunal had adjudicated on the fee. And Kevin Locke this time doing the defending, and Portsmouth have forced 3 successive corners here. This one to be taken by Alan Rogers, who plays it short to Doyle. And Ray Houghton with the challenge. And at last Fulham can get the ball away. There's quite a gale blowing around Craven Cottage this afternoon. That's not a pun on the Fulham number 6, by the way, but the wind could play quite a part here. That was on by Dillon for Rogers. 3 waiting in the centre for Portsmouth. And cut back for Haitley. And Portsmouth, to the chagrin of Jim Stannard, reap the benefit of a very powerful start. The ball was very well turned on in the first place by Dillon out to Rogers, who plays as an orthodox winger for Portsmouth, and what you want from them is a good cross like that. And Mark Haitley, who scored with a header in the Milk Cup match at Hereford on Wednesday night, now opens his league account for his new club. His father, Tony, was a fine header of the ball, and he's developed the same way. And Coney turned the ball in. It's Houghton with the throw for Fulham. Haitley and Brown. Biley now. And Haitley chasing. Parker just waiting for Stannard. And Haitley told to keep the feet down by the referee. Portsmouth moving well. This is Bailey. Dillon's making ground in the centre, so is Haitley! And he could so easily have had his second. This time it was Webb that started the move in midfield, through to Bailey. And as he made progress down the right, Haitley came tearing in at the far post, but didn't quite get the contact he wanted. And Fulham have made a shaky start against some progressive play by the away side. On by Coney. Houghton. Davis is to his left. Wilson. Houghton. And the late challenge. Wilson was the player who was heavily tackled. And the referee not wasting any time here in booking Mick Tate. Houghton plays it square to Tony Gale, who slipped as he shaped to shoot and wasn't terribly impressed, I fancy, by the delivery anyway, from Houghton. By Webb. Now Ellis. Bailey with the touchback, nice one. Webb. And again Bailey, offside. There's Locke. Now it's Brown. Marshall wide on the right. Wilson coming through the inside right position. Portsmouth caught a little square. Came off Tate. Here's Parker. Now Houghton. Well, that's a fine run by Ray Houghton. It was Tate who stopped him and Webb who cleared, but he threatened to go through the pack there. Parker. And the wind again having an effect. Marshall. Dillon for Portsmouth. Bailey. And again Dillon. Haitley to Webb. Scott. Sensible ball to Coney. Now Gale. Wide on the right is Wilson. Three in the middle for Fulham. And Wilson's shot. Well, Ray Harford, the Fulham coach, was saying to me before the match that the plan today was to get Robert Wilson through the Portsmouth ranks whenever possible. And certainly on the early indications, that's exactly what Fulham are doing. Coney. Marshall in support. Here's Gale. And now Locke. Oh, Gale was checked there. Haitley and Doyle were coming across him, and it's given Fulham a chance to get Roger Brown up on the far side. Locke picks out Houghton. And Lock again. And Fulham had committed plenty of players to attack, so here's Houghton again. Biley having to get back. Weight of numbers there in the Portsmouth half. Eventually forcing the corner. And Brown tries to reach it. And his... Oh, Coney with the shot. And he's not having the best of luck, Dean Coney, these days. Indeed, you have to go back to last October when we covered a match at Newcastle to find Dean Coney's last league goal. It's 28 second division matches since he scored. And on that occasion, as Scott was shaping to hit it, he did his best, did Coney, and was just too high. Here's Houghton. Way over on the right is Marshall. But he hasn't had the chance so far to show his pace in that position. Well, Portsmouth's coach arrived rather later than usual at Craven Cottage today, but they wasted no time once they got out there. They lead at half-time with a goal scored by Mark Haitley after only 3 minutes. Well, the most famous landmark on Fulham's ground, Craven Cottage itself, could well disappear if the club get permission to develop that Putney end. They want to build a new grandstand incorporating a sports and leisure complex, luxury apartments. It's a brave scheme and it would cost up to £10 million, but the club are currently negotiating with the church commissioners who actually own the ground. My early impressions of the new pitch at Fulham suggest that it's quite the opposite to the synthetic surface at Queen's Park Rangers, in that the ball on this pitch tends to hold up rather than run on. So it's worth teams thinking about playing the long pass over the opposing defence, because if you don't get offside, as Haitley did there, you might find the ball slow. The Pompey supporters chanting the Pompey chimes. Parker forward. Coney with the touch. That was Tate. And again, but neither of his clearances found a colleague. Portsmouth still sitting on this one-goal lead. Davis for Fulham. Marshall. Foul was by Hazelwood. Gale in. Brown comes forward. Marshall away by Tate. And Portsmouth defending well. They weren't thrown by the little routine prior to the kick being taken. Here's Parker. Wanted Coney wider then, but that will do. Scott. Back again by Houghton. Now Gale. Lock. Oh, Wilson's dummy, and here he is again, and Coney! And it still won't go in for him. Lovely 1-2 between Wilson and Coney. Reminiscent of that famous goal Fulham scored at Newcastle last season, but poor Dean Coney, who hasn't scored in the league since then, must be wondering when one is going to go in. There's Lock. And Houghton. Coney and Davis to his right. Scott also moving forward. It's Tate's header out. Here's Marshall. That struck Dillon. There's a good chance there. And Tate stops Davis inside the 6-yard box. Well, now Fulham are beginning to put together some concerted attacking play. It was Ray Houghton that came in from the left there and threatened And as the ball came over, Tate doing enough to put off Davis. Biley with the flick. And now Webb for Portsmouth. Looks very assured on the ball. That was Ellis forward to Biley, who's onside. And fires one across, which stays in play. Rodgers. Dillon wants it played back to him, number 8. Well, what Fulham have to be careful about as they go chasing the game, a goal down. Ray Harford on the bench will be aware that a counter-attack from Portsmouth could sew the match up for them. Marshall. Lock. Wilson's made a good forward run. Number 8 didn't run for him though, the ball. Wilson having a good industrious match, but perhaps sold Parker a bit short there, and Rodgers away. Taking on Brown, Biley's coming in at the far post, and Rodgers almost curled it in. In fairness to Parker, he wasn't given the best of chances by the pass from Wilson, and Rodgers got away. Whether he was aiming for Biley or whether he was aiming to curl it inside the far post, he will know, but he certainly didn't miss by very much. And we've been playing for an hour. Here's Haitley. And Doyle bursting through, and he's offside against Biley. Well, the linesman had his flag up. Doyle curls it in, and Biley scores. Now, are they going to allow the goal? It looks as though they are. Now, I think that's a good piece of refereeing in one way, because as Doyle burst through, Biley was in an offside position. The linesman started to flag, but at that point, Biley was not surely interfering with play. On went Doyle, and when the cross came in, Biley was on the end of it to make it 2-0. So, no protest from Fulham, it would appear, and the officials may well have got it right. 63 minutes gone, and 2-0 to Portsmouth. Turn back to Houghton by Wilson. Looks like a happy return for Bobby Campbell at this stage. Marshall. There's Biley. And Money. Players who've had good First Division experience. Here's Dillon, another one, and Haitley. Dillon once more, number 8. Rodgers, Dillon, and Biley's in the centre, offside. Wherever you look in this Portsmouth team, they may have just come out of the 3rd division, but they're experienced as individuals, and Fulham make a substitution late in the day. Only about 5 minutes to go, and Dale Tempest to replace Dean Coney. Tate and Hazelwood going for the same ball, and a free kick to Fulham. Tempest hoping to snap up a chance. Lock to take the kick. And Brown jumping with Haitley, but that's been a useful ploy for Portsmouth to pull Haitley back to mark the Fulham number 5 at set plays. Here's Parker, though. And Brown is still forward. Tempest. Houghton. Gale. Houghton again. It opened up there for Houghton. But the shot didn't dip in time. That effort perhaps summing up the afternoon for Fulham. Not much has gone their way. Webb. Chipped across for Bailey. Oh, nicely done by him. Came off him again. Interception there by Doyle. Here's Money. And well won by Houghton. And through the middle is Tempest, but the whistle is gone. The irony for that, perhaps, is that Fulham's most promising chance came as the referee blew the final whistle. Certainly Alan Bailey and an experienced-looking Portsmouth team, even though they'd just come out of the third division, looking good value for their victory. And a happy return to Craven Cottage for Bobby Campbell.
Well, Portsmouth deserved the points because they had the greater appetite to win the ball right from the start. And although Fulham's youngsters had plenty of the ball after that, their neat moves and entertaining close passing style fell down because of lack of determination and enthusiasm among one or two players. Portsmouth will more than hold their own. And what a pity it would be if, now that Fulham have a perfect surface, one or two players decide they don't want to play on it. Bob.
After such a promising start last Saturday, it's sad that trouble returned to the terraces today. 4 policemen were injured at Brighton when violent scenes followed Chelsea's 2-1 win.